Okay, just doing a quick check. Okay, let's start. Welcome to the weekly Ask Me Anything section. My name is Gert from SEOleverage.com. This is going to be about subdomains today. If subdomains or subdirectories are better, we are going to talk about people also ask in Google about this section, how you can leverage it. We're talking about some speed improvements, and we are going to talk about project management. This is also being streamed on Instagram. I hope my battery is not going to die on the mobile phone. Otherwise, just check in at Facebook, search for SEO Leverage if you're not following us yet, and follow this on Facebook, please, today. Let's jump right in. Let me just tell you first that you can follow us at SEO Leverage in Facebook or follow me personally on my personal Instagram profile at Gert Mellak. The first question we got the other day was whether subdomains or subdirectories are preferable for SEO. So the thing here is that I wouldn't care unless it wasn't for the backlinks we all know that are so important. Backlinks are links from external websites to your website, and they are basically, we call them votes of confidence sometimes. What this means is that you want Google to see that other websites in your area or which certain relevance are recommending yours. This is a very positive signal. Google is taking this into account. Google representatives themselves said that ranking a website without links is very, very hard, literally. So you want to have links pointing to your site. The thing is that if you have a subdomain, the link juice you get is not going to leave the subdomain. So imagine you have the best blog ever on your site. It's going viral. It's being linked to from the entire internet, and all the links are pointing to blog.yourdomain.com, for example, blog.seoleverage.com. You're not going to be able to leverage all these link juice for your rankings. You're going to have all the link juice focused on the blog subdomain, while your service pages you might have on your general domain are not going to see the benefits. So in my point of view, I think in 99% of the cases, a subdirectory should be preferred. It's much better to have a subdirectory and combine all the link juice on the main domain. It then gets distributed via internal linking, and this way you get the benefits. There is a high chance that many of the blog posts, many of your articles are not going viral or do not attract too many links naturally, but those that do should have the ability to distribute this link juice through your website. So my point of view is that you should prefer subdirectories. The next question we got was about the section of people also ask. So when you type something in at Google, there's not only search results coming up in most cases, but there is also different sections coming up. And one section of those contains questions and answers. We call this the people also ask section. And this is an important one. I had a client who wanted to see their website in there. And what you basically need to do for this is that you need to add so-called structured data to your website. So it's not enough that you have the question and the answer on your site. You also want to mark it up with structured data, so everybody, every search engine, every robot can really see the data, read the data, understand what is the question, what is the answer, and then you have a good chance to get your snippet featured in there. Okay, so this is structured data you need. There are plugins around there that handle this. Otherwise, if you need an additional hint, reach out to us, support@seoleverage.com, and we point you into the right direction. In general, I think it's important here to mention that all the different components that Google is showing, apart from search results, usually rely on structured data. So structured data is something you want your webmaster to take a look at. You want for Google to be able to understand who is behind the website, what's the company, what's your geographic targeting, what are your opening hours, etc. The more information you can give Google, the more they can present directly in the website. There is one caveat here, and it is if you have, for example, a question and answer section that's already ranking as an organic user normal result very well, marking this up as question and answer has a potential of reducing the traffic to your site, because you're very often giving the answer directly within the snippet, and people do not have to click on your website to consume the entire traffic, the entire answer, which is sometimes reducing your traffic. So monitor your Google Analytics closely, especially if you have this case that the page gets a lot of traffic and then you add the structured markup for the people also ask, there is a potential that you're getting less traffic. Okay, monitor this closely. Another question we received was how to speed up your website. Speed is probably, in my point of view, one of the most underrated aspects right now for good rankings. You want your website to be as fast as possible. You want your website to load quickly. And there are different tools out there like Google's Page Speed, for example. We also use webpagetest.org. These are free tools that basically try to load your website and show you a protocol on what's happening in the back. And they also give you a list of suggestions on what you should focus your attention on to get your site up to speed. Okay, this means they might point out that you should reduce your image size. They might point out that you should use lazy loading. Lazy loading means that images only get loaded if they come up within the visible area of the browser. So this means, for example, if you go to e-commerce sites, very often they have this. You scroll down on a list of products and images pop up at the time you are scrolling down. This is called the lazy loading. What this means is that not all images get loaded just because you opened up the website, and this reduces the file size that has to be downloaded, the size of images that have to be downloaded, and the time it takes the browser to render those images and present it to you. Another very interesting thing about speed optimization is what's called the time to first byte. So this basically refers to the time it takes from the moment you open a website in the browser, then that there is a signal that goes to the server. The server prepares what's called the HTML code that renders your has been sent needs to be sent to the browser. So the time it takes from your browser to the server and back to your browser with the HTML code and to arrive the first character, the first byte, this is called time to first byte. And this heavily relies on your server's performance and the performance of your content management system. So if your content management system is WordPress, for example, and you have a lot of plugins, it might take quite a while for your page to render and to be prepared, the HTML code to be prepared. And a quick fix for this usually is that you have a good caching plugin, WP Rocket, for example, on WordPress, or Supercache plugins. And what they basically do is they prepare the HTML code at the back and store it for a certain amount of time you can configure. So maybe they only do this once every hour. And within this hour, whoever comes to the website, they also need to retrieve the HTML code from the server, but WordPress already at this stage has an HTML prepared and doesn't need to check the plugins and check the database and check everything to get this ready. Ideally, time to first byte should be about 300 milliseconds and not longer. I've just done a quick audit on a website where it was more than 2 seconds. And this is something that happens on each click. So on every click, the time to first byte, if it takes 2 seconds for the browser to respond, for the server to respond, that's just too long. The user experience is not good enough, and Google is taking this into account. So Google is not going to give you the benefits when it comes to speed. And definitely make sure that your server and your content management system respond as fast as possible. Okay. Another question we got was which project management system we are using. This is called Ask Me Anything. Not everything is related to SEO. I'm happy to share insights about our agency as well. The project management system we have been using is really the best we could find. I'm very much into tools. I'm very much into testing new tools and see how they can improve our team's performance and give us more insight into how we are working, what time it takes us to do certain things, structure, who is doing what, etc. So I took a look at Asana, I took a look at Basecamp, I checked out Trello, I checked out probably 10 more systems I can't even remember. And I got Teamwork recommended from a friend of mine who was also testing a few systems and came across Teamwork PM or Teamwork, how they call it. And we ended up using this, and we've been using it, I think, for 4 years now with great success. Teamwork, what they do very well is that they give you a very good, very much power about permissions. So we very often work with external freelancers, for example. They don't need to have access to all the details, all our clients' projects, all our strategies and SOPs, standard operating procedures, and everything. They just need to have access to their task list, basically, where we assign what we want them to do. So Teamwork allows us to bring external people into our environment, give them access to what they really need, and at the same time, the core team can engage with them. They can add comments, assign tasks, etc., check their time tracking, etc. So Teamwork does a very good job at this. Teamwork is also very flexible. They've got outstanding support. I'm not getting any revenue from them or commission, but I'm happy to recommend them because they have been very helpful. Also, their support team has been very helpful over the last years, and they even implemented some things we suggested. And something we also use from them is called the templates. So whenever there is a site audit, for example, to be done, we have a certain amount, a series of steps we work through. So this is, for example, keyword research. We analyze the site's content, the content structure. We do a site crawl, etc. And these components are always the same. We adjust them sometimes to new requirements of Google, but basically those are the same. So the thing with Teamwork is that it allows us to create not only task lists, but also template task lists. So whenever there is a new site audit coming in, I can create a template, a copy of the template basically, and it's going to already create the task, already assign them to the different people on the team who are going to work on this. And everybody knows what they have to do. Automatically, we assign the time, the deadlines it's going to take, because every audit usually has a 10 days delivery deadline. And it's very easy to follow a given structure using a template, a project management system that gives you the ability of working with templates. There is another question coming in. I'm just adding this here. I was talking in one of the last videos or interviews I did, I think, about different buckets when it comes to ranking. This is an important one, I think, to understand, because it just relates to the concept of how the Google algorithm works. So Google needs to decide if a website has to be ranked high or low, or where to place it. So they take into account a series of things. The thing is, they have something we call the different buckets of topics they check. We don't know all of them, but we know some of them. And if one of those buckets isn't completely full, they're not going to rank the site. One of those buckets, we talked earlier about it, is speed, site loading speed. If your page is taking 10 seconds to load, your speed bucket, quote unquote, is not full. So Google basically already rules out your site from page one. If every other site in this area is faster, you don't get a chance. Even if you have the best content of all of them, if your usability is great, if you don't have the necessary speed on your site, the load speed, you're not going to rank. Another bucket is links. in most cases, right? There are still some isolated niches where just by putting up a piece of content, you might be able to rank, but there's not many of them. In most niches, you need backlinks from relevant sources pointing to your site. And if this link bucket is not full, Google is not going to rank your site well. Another bucket is content, especially the search intent. If you don't have an article that corresponds to a certain search intent, you are not going to be ranked for this search intent. So if I want to respond to a search query that's called SEO agency comparison, and I don't have a comparison of SEO agencies, I don't have a piece of content that corresponds to this search intent, so Google is not going to rank my article about why we are the best SEO agency. We are, of course, but we are not going to get ranked for the comparison. So I usually think of someone like carrying like 10 or 20 buckets to the water fountain, and they're not going back unless every bucket is full, because they need to leverage the time it takes them to get there, right? And Google is not going to rank your site if you don't have every essential bucket filled for your website. Okay, so I have made this clear. Hopefully, you need to make sure you are on top of your game in the most important sections like speed, like content, like search intent, like backlinks, for example, usability, mobile friendliness. These are the main buckets you definitely need to check and make sure you correspond to what Google expects from a modern website. Just checking if there are any further questions. No, I think we are good. So if there is nothing else, just checking here. I think there's nothing else. So yeah, thank you very much then. We're going to end this Ask Me Anything call then now. I'm going to do this every Friday. Make sure you subscribe to the event. Follow us at SEO Leverage in Facebook. Follow me personally, Gert Mellak, in Instagram. We are also putting this up on our YouTube channel. You can find the link on seoleverage.com. And definitely, if you are interested in tips around SEO, check out seoleverage.com/top10tips. Put in your email address. We are sending only very informative emails. We are not going to spam you, but the top 10 tips are going to help you quite a bit on your website. Implement them, and I can guarantee your rankings are going to improve. Have a great weekend. I hope you're going to enjoy it. Don't work too much. SEO and rankings isn't everything in life. Have a great weekend. See you next time.